Well, exactly what I had worried about happened. Although funny enough, I worried about this since Cali, which of course, I mean, I was laying low and everything. So, but exactly what I worried about, not even just since running away, but just in general, even before running away, happened. Cause to make a long story short, I know I have some reupload remake videos about the whole thing of me being smear campaigned all over the internet, and most of the posts that were up then, and even the ones that are still up now, are from when I tried to sneak to a job interview, and they just have a lot of mess in them. And then all the articles were uploaded at 8 a.m. that same day when I was in the house taking a shower because I was already back by then. Because if I'm not mistaken, I didn't even end up making it to the interview because too much mess had happened. But anywho, I know I think I had already talked about how the whole like shelter thing was really risky, but they were always saying they were full. But as I've been talking about, I've been trying to find loopholes to finally start getting medical treatment, especially since running, because now I no longer have to worry about a lot of things, especially if I hide the fact that I'm homeless and all that, and that I'm a runaway in general. Then I don't have to worry about like accusations and, well, no, I won't say that. I don't have to worry about as much medical gaslighting as I did in my abuse situation, because even with the fact that medical professionals knew I was being abused, that alone would cause them to just try to like make all of everything I had gone on about the abuse. And then when it wasn't about that, since I was in the Munchausen syndrome by proxy situation / cash for kids system abuse, because the human cash cow systems, they are in and of itself Munchausen syndrome by proxy, especially with the mental health system branch, which is tied into every branch of the cash for kids system / human cash cow systems. And so, anywho, just like as I even see in medical records, it seems like every time they thought about giving me testing for all the health issues I had, because as I've said before, in my How to Know If You Have Mitochondrial Dysfunction playlist, a lot of people have said they feel like I have Crohn's, or obviously have some type of autoimmune disease. I definitely have dysautonomia / POTS, which has actually been getting worse, and I'm not really sure about that, but like literally in recent times it's been getting worse. I'm not sure why though. And just a lot of stuff, but generally intestinal issues, and people were saying we feel like you have Crohn's. I did end up finding out about SIBO after finding out about H. pylori and parasites from a homeless doctor when I had to lie about my name and age to even go there. And he had mentioned H. pylori, but it was in like a really condescending way. It was like, oh, you're probably just drinking dirty water like a puddle out the ground or something because you're homeless. Even though I had been sick since well before I ran away. But that's kind of besides the point. Most of my issues are iatrogenic anyways. But anyhow, to get to the point. I'm trying to remember what it was actually. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember what I was saying. So when the doctors were saying, well, you're probably just being starved at home or essayed or something, then everything would just be blamed on me being quote unquote retarded, or my mom would come behind me and say something, and that would be their new excuse to not test me. Now, of course, it doesn't really have anything to do with that. That's just their reason to not do something. Like I say all the time when it comes to abuse situations, it's not that people don't believe you. People pretend not to believe you or to think you're lying or stupid or crazy or whatever as an excuse to not help. And that more so goes to the thing that I say all the time, which is that people treat you the same in every situation but with a different excuse. So in this situation with the medical system, they're going to gaslight me anyway because I'm female, I'm quote-unquote black, and I'm broke. And then with the mental health system stuff, in and of itself, they see women as mentally ill and just emotional and always in pain. And then, of course, with the whole being a melanated person thing, they see melanated people as in and of itself being a mental illness. Like, actually, even though Caucasian people are the minority of the world, the planet, they see actually having dark skin as a mental illness itself, and then or as the illness, and then everything else is the symptoms, which there's a lot that I could say about that, but that'll be irrelevant. So I was going to go through medical gaslighting anyways, but I can definitely say that with the medical neglect I went through, and then all this stuff with like the labeling, and then my mom, and then I would have to beg to go to the doctor, and then when I finally would go, they wouldn't do anything, which would cause me to have visible, obvious, easily fixable, and curable infections for years longer than I needed to, which is part of why I ended up getting as sick as I did, as I mentioned, throughout the whole mitochondrial dysfunction / solving my health issues playlist. And so anyhow, the main point with that is that, like, I'm trying to remember actually. I don't even really remember what I was getting at with that, but anywho, I already don't like going by my real name for this reason. In the shelter, ended up Googling me, of course, and going through the different Facebook posts and the old smear campaigning and all that stuff and coming to confront me about it. And of course, no one wants to give any real answers about why. But I mean, I already know why. People already don't believe that youth homelessness exists. One minute they accuse me of, even though they have my ID, one minute they accuse me of being older than I am, which a lot of people do that because, especially since being in the South, as I talk about all the time, people pretend that youth homelessness doesn't exist, so they pretend that you can't be a teenager or in your 20s or whatever, and that you're just secretly decades older than you actually are, regardless of what you look like, which I feel like is just really interesting because, like, people my age and even younger, for even well before I ran away, even in the little 3 months of school I got to go to, due to me being so underdeveloped, even mentally due to trauma, but especially physically due to malnutrition, just all the untreated health issues, because I'm underdeveloped, but then I'm also severely underweight. People have just had a hard time believing that I'm really their age. The only thing that makes people sometimes assume that I'm older when it is people my age is because of like my situation, because people are so much in denial about the fact that youth homelessness exists. So sometimes, especially since being in the South, like some kids would feel like I'm like so much older than I really am because of the fact that I'm homeless. But that goes into the thing I talk about in general all the time, which is that street kids aren't seen as kids anyways. So you're automatically seen as growner than you really are because you're visibly on your own, even though you were on your own, even in your abuse situation. And so anyhow, as I talk about all the time, people are always saying the whole go home thing, or I know, what was it? I know there's somewhere you're supposed to be that you're not at. And it's all really annoying because even looking back on the whole situation, I remember like my grandma not wanting me to live with her and her kicking me out and trying to throw me around at 8 and me having to bounce around. But yet still to this day she lets my dad live with her, but she wouldn't even let me live with her at 8, and I was being thrown around and all that stuff. Which, I mean, anyways, and when a kid is living with their grandparents, it typically is due to issues that the parents had going on anyways. But that's kind of besides the point. Then it was something else I'm forgetting. I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, and so while asking about it, one of the things that the lady just told me is that she said that she felt like the best thing for them to do was to come confront me about it. Well, they don't even want to use the word confront. But the best thing for them to do was to come say something to me about it and ask me about it and ask me if I want to reach out to these people. And I keep telling them I don't have a missing persons report. Those are old articles from when I tried to sneak to a job interview that were canceled the same day. I was just never able to get any of that stuff taken down. I still even remember the whole thing, which I still have a remake about. And I guess I could re-upload the old ones, the old part 1 and 2 from the part 5 channel, I think it was, of the girl actually bringing it to my attention that some guy was exploiting me for views, although he was exploiting me and so was this other dude and a couple other people. But I do generally think that, like, as one of them said, that oftentimes the quote-unquote family will ask them to make videos and post about the quote-unquote missing kid. In fact, he's one of the guys who made a post about that missing boy who was like, he was like 9 or something. He was literally crying in the missing persons photo and looked like he just got beat all up and slapped and stuff. And he posted that talking about they're looking for him and they want him to come home. But that even goes into the video that I made. I don't even know if that was on here, but I showed screenshots of a lot of comments of people saying praying for their safety and their return, praying for them to come home, from posts about me and even other people, because all people want is for youth to be where they want them to be, or generally they want people with their abusive family systems, and they feel like you shouldn't have rights. Which is why it's weird that the shelter people came to me talking about we wanted to ask you about it because of your rights and you had the right to not reach out. And it's like, if I had the right, then what is the whole topic even coming up for in the first place? And so, yeah, anyway, I forgot to say. So she was talking about we had, I don't know, look up my clients on Facebook or Google. Well, if you didn't, so the other lady did it then, and then she brought it to your attention, and then you both wanted to come talk to me about it. Or she's just lying. And that's one of the things with people. This isn't anything new, because I learned this, of course, even before I started going through the cash for kids system, just in general, of being like a person that you're abused, but then you have the abuse symptoms that give off this like frequency, I guess I could say, to people to just run all over you. Kind of just like this post I reposted, I think maybe on TikTok, where somebody was like, the kid who got bullied in school for being weird was often already being abused at home, which is why it's a good thing I didn't get to go to school, to be honest, but I'm not going to go into that. So it's just like that. You pretty much just give off something that lets people know to do whatever they want to you. And so anywho, I already knew that it was like a lot of weird manipulative stuff going on, but generally one thing that I learned a long time ago, and I've been saying since before the abuse evidence channels, but especially since the part 1 channel, most people aren't really that smart, and so they do a lot of weird stuff anyways, and they don't even think anything of it. So they just kept like kind of denying the issue of why they just kept like denying the issue of why I felt some type of way about it. And it's a lot of reasons. For one, I've already been one of these taken down for like the longest, but it seems like even though I shouldn't have to do that, I'm gonna have to get a lawyer. But then it's not even just like one person who made posts, it's multiple people. Even like people that claim to like know my dad or whatever that I really have never met, that are just like doing what flying monkeys usually do. In fact, I would say there's honestly more posts about me from like these random people than even the police. And then from the time where I actually escaped, this last go around that has me out here now, they didn't even make the missing persons report till 2 weeks later, because they really didn't care and they really didn't want to. And then they spelled my name wrong, which is why when it was made, I didn't even know that it was out until people kept saying it was out, and I kept saying there is no missing persons report. And they kept saying, yeah, there is, and I was like, how? And so then I forgot how I actually ended up finding it, but I eventually ended up actually finding it, and then I've seen that like they spelled my name wrong, which is probably why. When I was going to the Youth Resource Center in Cali, and they went with me to try to cancel the missing persons report, the police had said that they didn't know who they were talking about. Or at least I think that's why. But it's weird because they ended up taking that article down, I think, but not any of the old ones. And so anywho, the lady was talking about because I don't think I ever said this part. I have children your age, and if I didn't know where my daughter was, I would want somebody to tell me. And so that's why we had came to talk to you about it, because we felt like the best thing to do was to ask you about it. But the thing is, especially with all the bullcrap that's in the reports, one, I'm already going to be seen as the probably most likely retarded, crazy, black homeless person anyways, just because of how people just automatically feel like you're homeless because of something you did to somebody and because of some issue and a bunch of weird stuff. Generally, being poor is seen as a mental illness, but people also see homelessness as like a rock bottom. But I just feel like it's so stupid. And that's exactly, stuff like that is exactly why I keep saying that as much as people claim to think that I'm secretly this 38-year-old grown woman, it's very obvious that they don't, because there's just things that people do to kids that are young people or whatever in the world. I don't even know. I feel guilty even using the term because I've been made to feel like I'm supposed to be so much more adultified and grown than I am throughout my life. But anywho, there's just things that people do to kids that they wouldn't do to actual grown people, and there's things that they wouldn't say to a kid that they would say to a kid that they wouldn't say to an actual grown person. Nobody's gonna walk up to an actual grown person, calling themselves, confronting them about how they're not doing what they're supposed to do and how they shouldn't be out here and stuff like that. Which typically, due to stuff with people, they're often saying that I don't even look like I should be out here, which I remember a lady had told me that back in, when I was stuck in Alabama for those 2 weeks when I was, trying to help that girl who was getting sex trafficked by CPS and all that horrible stuff was going on. And so, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could say with that. But I don't think there's anything else I can really say about that. This is just, I don't even know. I think at this point I should have just started calling stuff a video diary that nobody would want to ever listen to in their right mind. That's what I should have started calling it years ago. I may even change my ad to something close to that, but obviously not like with that many characters. But there's definitely something else I could add for that there. Oh yeah, and then it's like, actually, yeah, I don't know if I said this already, but I mentioned before that whole thing with that girl who obviously ran away from a really, really bad lifelong SA situation, who obviously has DID, and people are talking about she's quote-unquote schizo, which, I mean, you get that from SA and different trauma anyways. I mean, shoot, if I don't figure something out soon and get in a better situation with the least amount of continuous trauma, I'm gonna be walking around here talking to an eggplant or something soon too. But anywho, to get back to the point, the girl that was being like taken advantage of, and everybody was of course saying she's quote unquote fast and grown and bad and a hoe when she's still in their boyfriends, all that stupid stuff. So I know I mentioned that she disappeared and pretty much nobody cares, and people say she went with some dude. One person said that she had got a job and she moved in with some dude. And I remember they kept saying that they were going to let her into the shelter. Then there was this boy who was kicked out that would come here sometimes. I haven't seen him in a while either. I'm hoping that like he either one of his friends' parents let him stay with them, or his mom let him back home. But I mean, with the fact that he got kicked out, obviously the family situation isn't safe. But hopefully he was able to stay with a friend, like one of the people that he was around when it seems like he first got kicked out. And that's one of the things when you're in like a lot of isolating abuse situations, and also of course if you're screwed up and don't have the social skills, it makes it harder for you to even meet people that possibly would beg their parents to let you stay with them. But it still goes back to the thing that I always say. People say the whole you burned your bridges thing, but the thing is, when you're young, you're not staying with your friends, you're staying with your friends' parents. Unless maybe you live in like one of those demographics where half everybody around you is a tech bro, and they're like making 500,000 at 15 and 16 and 18 and 22 or whatever. But other than that, it's people talking to their parents and letting you stay with them, which typically they're not going to want to. And even if they do agree, it often doesn't end up working out. And you end up couch surfing to a lot of different people, because after a while they get tired of taking care of somebody else's kid, or they really didn't want to agree to it, but they felt bad. And there's nothing worse than pity, but I have a whole video about how pity is manipulation. And typically by let me help you lunatic type people that just see them quote unquote helping you and even faking helping you as a way to get themselves into heaven, because the good deeds outweigh the bad / do what thou wilt. And so anywho, but yeah, it's like the thing is that I also stand out too much, and I don't think how like I've been dressed recently. Well, I just stand out too much in general. That's kind of irrelevant, because that's just like, some people are just like that. But that doesn't work well when you're always in situations that people would consider vulnerable or just not ideal. Because it's like, people were talking about how the girl at least had ran away, and they're saying a whole bunch of stupid stuff about her when it's obviously that girl had a whole bunch of messed up stuff happening to her just because of what she has going on. But people don't care anyways, which is funny because some of the people talking the most drunk about her, the people that run around screaming about how they got R-worded or how they get R-worded and essayed all the time out here, even before they were out here when they were staying with family or whoever. And that even goes back to the whole thing that I always say about how there is no such thing as women and children because women have rights, especially like people that are under legal adult age. They really don't have any rights. But the reason I say that is because one of the things that's really evident, especially with the file stuff that's coming back out, the decades-old information that people are now pretending to somewhat care about and somewhat believe, and what I call the Geronophile agenda and the minor crisis, it's women coming out the woodworks claiming that they care about SA, but they're really just feminists who want to make it all about how they hate men. And I know that like a lot of guys do have perversion issues, and that's been more aware of me, became more aware to me how like problematic it is since I wouldn't even just say since like running away. I'll say since like being in the state that I've been in now for the many months I've been here at this point, or at least really probably maybe a year or something like that. But that's a whole nother video. But I'm not gonna like deny that issue. But the whole thing is that they don't care about SA, and they definitely don't actually care about kids, male or female, but especially not male, obviously. They're just feminists who like want to make everything about how they hate men, but they don't really care about SA, and they don't really care about what's happening to young people either. And I mean, I get it, the whole thing of like really trying to like talk about your situation. I even do that myself, but it's like they're pretending to care about other people's situations when they really don't. Because, like, these are the same women that'll go on a 3-hour-long rant about how women are hated more than kids and how DV is more of an issue than people abusing their kids, even though, like, most people get abused by family and parents. And that's the whole reason you're in a DV relationship, because you've been raised to believe that people who love you hit you and scream at you in the first place, which just shows otherwise. But anywho, I just stand out too much because it's like, okay, you guys didn't do any of that for the other two kids, so why are you doing that for me? And then the fact that you guys claim to think that even though you have my ID now, which I really regret even giving them, but you claim to think that I'm so much older than I actually am, but you're still doing stuff that you know good and well you wouldn't do to a real, whatever in the world a real grown person is. That's really confused me so much. And I was even talking to this guy the other day. He's like a couple years older than I am, and he was talking about how he's a kid and stuff like that. And it's like, I've been made to just feel so guilty for even seeing myself that way. And it's not like I mean, the way I see it is that, like, I mean, a child would be like somebody under 10, but I mean, teenagers are young men and women, but still generally people in their teens to 20s are still like adolescents. But it's like, especially due to my situation, I've just been made to feel so guilty about like seeing myself that way. And I've just been so confused about that. It's just like interesting when I can see other people even way older than me call themselves a kid, and it just confuses me, because it's like, well, I guess you don't have to worry about feeling guilty for even thinking of yourself that way and feel like you're almost playing with somebody or something for saying you're a kid. Because I've been made to feel like it's just so messy. And like, even when I went to this event last weekend, that's like pretty much they had them in like every state from what I've seen throughout my travels. Generally everywhere where like a downtown city area has like art parade type things pretty much. And so anyhow, just seeing other people my age and even younger people getting to do like things that are considered normal, but then when I want to do those same things, I'm made to feel like I'm weird for it, because or made to feel like I'm like trying to like pretend that I'm like young when I'm really old and I'm trying to like pretend or be like childish or whatever. That's how I made it feel. But I just see like people older than me like just doing normal things and like talking about like video games and comics and emo stuff. But when I like even think about doing normal things, it seems like people have some way to combat that and make me feel like I'm bad for it. And that's why I say, as I've been saying a lot the past couple months, I really do need to pick back up on making that book about running away. Unlike that one lady who, or man, whatever in the world, that had left that stupid comment about how I need to reach out to an adult because running away is dangerous, whatever she said. I ended up making a video about that comment those months back titled, "You're Why I Make Videos." Because they were claiming they were going to make a book about running away. Don't make a book about running away when you didn't do it. Don't even make a book about being homeless when you didn't do it. Because you're one of the fear-mongering people. I would say that the only real issue is that people are crappy just like people were crappy before you ran away. So it's not really much of a difference. It's well, I mean, yeah, it is. It's definitely nowhere near as bad, and it's not constant torture, but it's still people are just people, and that's just how life is. People try to do a lot of fear mongering, but it's like it definitely is screwed up, and I really wish that like there are people actually talking about even the psychological side of how all this really is, like how I talk about. But I have nothing to regret. I wouldn't even be alive if I wouldn't have escaped. Especially because I had so many health issues that I was being gaslit about, and I had malabsorption so bad that if I wouldn't have ran away to even realize that I was as sick as I had been thinking I was and had people tell me that, I would have even started to take the HCl and enzymes. And I'm still like, I still have super bad malabsorption, but taking the HCl and enzymes has helped out. But I know it's definitely time for me to like really scrape up some money to really get some real treatment and figure things out though, because my dysautonomia has been getting worse. But I also do know it's really hot where I am, so it could also really just be due to that. And not even that, like certain things may be getting worse. But yeah, so